Hello, everyone. This is Jamie Goldstein here with the Astro Priestesses Summit, where we are so excited to share on the astrology of 2025 and beyond. And I am beyond elated to invite in beautiful Astro Priestess Goddess Rachel Starr. You just
Aw.
like you were one of the first people I thought of because you so embody that like cosmic queen star
Oh,
priestess energy. And so I'm just like so excited you're here. And I personally just I get so excited anytime I get to like talk with you and share space. So
oh, thank
it's
you
so
so
much fun.
much. I'm
And you're
so
gonna,
excited to be here. Like it was immediate yes. Anytime Jamie asked me to do anything, I'm like, yes, I'm in. And I just love the theme. This is such a beautiful way to start off the year, getting us in the vibe, getting us in the right energy. Astro priestesses, like, yes, assemble.
I love it. Yeah, because that's really our intention around the Astro Priestesses is like we are the bridge. We are the
Mm.
portal between the as above and so below, like reading the patterns in the stars and how do we use that to inform our life here on
Mhm.
Earth. So I love it. And Rachel, you're going to be sharing about the human design gateways of the astrology transits of 2025. And I love this because there are so many different modalities that we can weave into astrology and that intersect with astrology to give us more wisdom and more insight on how to meet the energy. And so I've not dived into human design, but it's on my list
Mm.
of things that I really want to dive in and study because everyone that I talk to that has studied both astrology and human design, they all say it adds so much more depth and insight and awareness that the like natal chart alone or the astrology alone is not provided. I mean, of course, like astrology is an amazing modality, but then it's like even more amazingness
It's
you can
another
add in.
layer, another layer of meaning and understanding and application. And my first love will always be astrology, but second love, definitely human design. And it is just incredible. So I'm so excited to like bring it to the summit in this unique way of looking at transits because most of the time people look at human design as how do I get to know myself and my skills? And that's how I often, coach my clients and support my people with it. How do I create a business with it, et cetera, et cetera. But now we're going to be looking at, okay, what are the transits? What are the themes? And that's something not a lot of people are talking about. So, yeah, I can't wait to get into
Yeah,
it.
this is actually completely new to me that you can look at the transits through this lens of human
Mhm.
design. So I'm really excited. I know we have a lot of people tuning in who are studied in human design and who love it. And I feel like they're all probably wondering, like, what is your, human design?
My
As they're like,
take.
you.
Yeah, sorry, say that again.
Yeah, what is your like human design? I don't know the right terminology, but like your human design chart, like what is a
Oh,
little bit about
yes.
your personal human design?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So my human design, well, I'd love to know what people guess so they can go ahead and guess and let us know at some point.
Yeah, you can comment. What do you guess?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty obvious that I'm a sacral being. So I'm a manifesting generator. Usually people can tell, they can feel the energy. I'm an emotional authority manifesting generator, 2-5 profile. What else do we need to know? A right angle cross of laws. Yeah, I think those are the main things. So being a manifesting generator, finding out about my human design was life-changing, especially the emotional authority part. That was my first really big breakthrough, was learning about authority, which is your decision-making process. And it just gave me so much permission. A lot of people who find human design say that, and I feel that way too. It gave me permission to be myself in ways that astrology did as well, just deepening some of my understanding about how I can be myself. Like, what's the how? I call human design astrology in motion. So it's like, how are we going to use it? What's the strategy? What's the lifestyle? What's our relationship with time? Like all of these kinds of things are brought out through the understanding of your human design chart. And yeah, so anyone who is interested in knowing more, or if you're studying yourself, just like watch how I how I interact. I'm very much, you'll find a 2-5 manifesting generator. You'll see it.
Oh, I love that. I'm a manifesting generator. That's the whole extent that I know of my
Oh,
human
yay.
design, but I'm a manifesting generator too.
That makes so much sense. We love to like have lots of different interests. We love to learn and we hate being bored. Like we need
Totally.
to be stimulated. We have big energy. Yeah.
Totally. Like right when if I'm doing something and I feel like once I get over the learning curve of something and then it's kind of just like, oh, I've kind of got a hang of it. I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to learn something else and dive into a
Yeah.
new subject and
Next.
always switching it up.
Yeah, we're like next. It's like we're just collecting hobbies like Pokemon. We're like, I need them
Totally.
all. I need to do all the things. And but that's part of the spice of life. Like for us, variety truly is the spice of life. And
Oh
we
my
have
gosh,
to
yes.
indulge that. And because if we don't indulge that and we try too hard to like stick to just one thing, we are doing ourselves a disservice. Mhm.
That's such wisdom for me because that feels so true to my experience. So I love this. And, kind of just we really connected over our love of astrology. And then I was always really inspired when I'd hear you share about human design. Just like now, I'm always like, oh my gosh, I want to just like soak up everything you're saying and I want to learn everything you're sharing about. And so I love this idea of how we can um, also integrate the wisdom of human design and the human design gateways to give us some more insight on what's happening astrologically with the transit. So I just want to open it up to you. I know that you have a presentation and
Yeah.
yeah, feel free to just jump on in and I'll jump in with any questions or anything that comes up as you're sharing.
Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm really excited to dive into this. I just think this is going to be so hopefully illuminating, inspiring, interesting to people. What I'm going to go through is a little bit complex. And so I'm cognizant that, some people may be total newbies to human design. And I just want anyone who's watching today to know that you don't need to understand exactly every little bit of the chart in order to get the vibes, the themes, the lessons, the gateways of what we're all going to be experiencing in 2025. So by the end of today, if I've done my job right, you will feel inspired, you will feel empowered by this information, and you'll have some key dates for your diary when certain energies are being activated. And then if you want to dive deeper into the human design, but I hope this just piques your interest. So let's get started. The reason I called them gateways is what I'm going to do. Well, I'll explain what I'm going to do in a moment. I'm going to look at some major ingresses for 2025. So when a planet moves from one sign into another sign, right? We call it an ingress. So I'm going to look at the 5 major ingresses of 2025. But I like to think of things as invitations. I'm very much about empowering astrology and empowering human design. I'm very much about people feeling like, oh, I'm not trapped by this transit. I'm going to harness it. And so I like to think of, the universe, the cosmos is always sending us these invitations to up level, these invitations to learn, these invitations to let go, these invitations to open our heart more. And so thinking of this as gateways, I think is a great way to look at it. Because 2025 does have some intense astrology. Like, let's, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, there's a lot going on next year. And so if you think of it as gateways instead, gateways to your next iteration, your next level, your next, lesson, like that's a great way to embrace the time. Okay, so I'm going to do a really quick intro for everyone. What is human design and how does it relate to astrology? This is probably its own course on its own. And so we really are just going to do a very quick primer, very quick like introduction to this, so that you kind of know how they actually go together. It's funny, a lot of times people will say, oh, I really resonate with human design more, or I really resonate with astrology more, but there is a crossover. And if you're not familiar with that, I think you'll be really excited to learn about this. Okay. So, human design, if I were to put it into one sentence, like what is it, right? It is a system of energy that helps us to understand our gifts, our blind spots, and how our energy interacts with each other. So it does have this concept of like aura type, what Jamie and I were talking about earlier. The manifesting generator is an energy type or an aura type. And so that's about how we interact with the world. And it also has a lot of different parts as well. So what this is an example of a chart. So this is from Maya Mechanics, which is a software that I like to use, but you can get your chart for free. I should have put the link on here, but if you just go to Jovian Archive, Jovian archive.com, put in your birth time, you will get a chart that looks something like this with different centers, which are the big shapes. Those are called centers, colored in or not colored in. And then different numbers, which are called gates, colored in or not colored in. And so it's a whole system, and it just shows where you are activated by the planets and where you are not. And so it's really very similar in a lot of ways. Like if you study astrology first, I think that's a great thing to do. Study astrology first and then come to human design. You'll be like, oh, okay, I get this concept, you know? Um, so that's what it is. The system is also made up of four ancient wisdom systems. So there's a lot of things that you may be familiar with if you know astrology, because that's part of it. But then there's also the I Ching, the divination system is a part of this as well. The chakra system, these different colored shapes represent there's 9 centers, but there's 7 chakras. And then we have the Kabbalah tree of life that is involved as well. And so it's really, really cool, all put together. You could nerd out on it for days. But let's talk about kind of a little bit more specific. I want to show you how the astrology is involved. So, human design absolutely helps us to ground our gifts. This is why I really love it. I love astrology for understanding personality and gifts. But then, human design, I would say, this is my take on it, grounds our gifts and our life lessons into practical ways of being and doing life. So a lot of times we'll look at the astrology and be like, that's great. I have Mars in Pisces, but like, what do I do with that? The human design takes things, in my view, a step further and gives us more strategy, gives us more lifestyle tips, gives us more like, your natural way of doing X is like this, and this person's natural way of doing X is like this. And so it helps us to live a more frictionless life because we're doing things in our natural way. And of course, we could just figure that out on our own without human design, but because of conditioning of the world, it is harder to kind of figure out, well, what's my way of doing it when I've been conditioned since birth to do it a certain way, right? So I love human design for the insights. So
I love
actually,
that you
so
just said living a more
yeah, go ahead.
frictionless life. Like that for I so feel you with like what you're sharing about that. I love that.
Oh, yes. Yes, in this life. Yeah, exactly. We don't know what the next one's going to be. Maybe we'll come back a projector. I love it. So I wanted to show this massively complicated looking wheel. This is actually a good representation of showing all of the different wisdom systems involved. On the outside, you have the I Ching. The gates are connected to the hexagrams of the I Ching, the 64 hexagrams. Then you have this wheel of you'll recognize the zodiac signs, right? And then you'll have little kind of channels that are leading you to the body graph in the middle with the centers that are connected to the chakras. But I wanted to kind of show how the astrology and the human design are connected before I dive into these transits for next year. So I'm zoomed in, way zoomed in to Aquarius. So of course, during our summit, we will be in, or we are in Aquarius season. And specifically right in the middle of Aquarius season, right? So where the sun is going to be transiting between 9 and 16 degrees during the summit, which is from January 29th to February 4th. And so I wanted to show you where that planet, the sun, the luminary, is activating the human design. So each zodiac sign is correlated to certain gates in the human design chart. And that correlation never changes. So they're locked in. It's always going to be the same gates connected to the same zodiac sign. And so during our summit, the sun is going through gate 19, because if you counted the number of degrees from here, right? If you start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you finish at 29, right? So it's right in the middle. 9 to 16 degrees is passing through gate 19 in human design and gate 13. And so that's how a little tiny example of how we read transits. So we're looking at the degrees of the sign, and then we go and reference that in where is that happening in the human design. Okay. And I'll explain a little bit more about what all this means. But just as a little bit of information, gate 19 is called the gate of wanting. So each gate, you might think of it as like a little house. Just like we have the 12 houses in astrology, there are like 64 gates in human design. Each gate has a meaning, and each gate resides in one of the centers or the chakras. And so gate 19 is right down here. I highlighted it with this little pink bubble in the root. So it's in the root center, you could say the root chakra. And gate 19 is all about, connecting to what people want. It's highly psychic, highly sensitive. People who often have gate 19. So if you have this colored in your chart, you may have some real psychic abilities, some ability to sense what people want and what they need. And meeting that want and meeting that need is something that motivates you because the root center is all about motivation. So we're going to be looking at that. And I think that's really interesting thing about this summit, because we're all going to be there learning and we're all going to be planning our year and we're all going to be thinking about, well, what do I want? And if we're business owners, we might be thinking, well, what does my community want? How can I meet the wants and needs of my people in this age of Aquarius of 2025? Right. So I think that's beautiful that that's part of the energy of this summit, right? Yeah. And then the other gate that is being activated by the sun is gate 13, which is the gate of the listener. And that's exactly what you're all going to be doing, right? And me too, watching the summit, listening to what everyone has to say. It's over here in the identity center, which is part of the heart chakra. And you're going to be learning by listening to the stories of others, right? So you're listening to those stories and you're understanding and you're connecting to wisdom, meaning. This is all part of priestess. Like storytelling is such a priestess activity, right? So I just think this is so beautiful that this is the energy of the summit. And I just wanted to give this as an example of kind of how astrology transits work or how you can read them in the chart. Obviously, in order to read transits, you kind of need to know a few things. You need to know what the gate means. You need to know what the planet's about, which if you know your astrology, you do. And then you need to know about the center that that gate is in. So I'm going to give you like really quick overviews. Of course, we could probably spend hours talking about each one of the transits that I'm going to talk about today, but I'm excited because I want to give you this really quick overview of the major themes of the major ingress dates, where we see it in the astrology, and then where we see it in the human design, because it's not always happening on the same date, which is really interesting. So, before I dive in, Jamie, does that sort of make sense? I know that's like a really quick introduction. Any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And you've got me really inspired. And I love that you're going to be speaking about these gateway activations through the lens of the transits. But something that was like running through my mind as you're sharing is I'm pretty sure my descendant is like right in that gate 13 or no, the gate 19 that you were
Really?
just sharing about.
Yeah, like
You
over
look
here.
at where all your natal planets
Yes.
are in your natal chart and
Yes.
interpret them through the gates.
Exactly. That's exactly what you could do. You could do it
Cool.
by hand by looking at this mandala and like counting the degrees, or you could get, the software. Obviously, actually, let me go back to this one, and you'll get the chart that looks like this, and it will tell you. So it'll be like, okay, and this side is the conscious side, this side is the unconscious. So you're going to read the right side, which is going to match your astrology chart. So this person has, oh, I know this one. Okay, so this person has Mars in gate 50. I happen to know that gate 50 is right at the crossover of Scorpio and Libra. So I'm like, oh, they probably have their Mars either in Scorpio or Libra, probably Scorpio because it's the fifth line. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so their Mars is over here in the spleen. And it's right here in gate 50. So yeah, so they are exactly connected.
Cool.
So your astrology birth chart and your human design chart are saying the same thing, just in different ways with more information in the human design.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go look at the chart and learn more. I love this.
Yeah, it's just like the first time I saw human design, I was like, what is this? It was like that a beautiful mind like sketch of like the numbers and the signs
Yeah.
in my head, like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's so good. So yeah, okay. So here we go. Are we ready to dive in to the
Yeah,
fun
let's go for it.
major ingresses? Okay. So we're going to go in date order. We're going to start with the first major ingress, which of course is the nodes. So the north node is moving from Aries into Pisces, and the south node is moving from Libra into Virgo, right? And so that's the astrology. We know that in the astrology, this is happening on January 11th. And now I want to share with you some of the human design and when that's happening and what that means. It's like just another layer of meaning on top of that. I'm very excited because my nodal return will be ending. And so I can't wait for that. I mean, it's been great, but the lessons have been, challenging. Wow, wow, wow. So I can't wait for this. But for a lot of you, like your nodal return will just
Yeah,
be
me.
beginning. Like, Jamie, yeah, and so it's like this turning point, right? That happens like every 18 years for all of us. It's very exciting. Anyway, so from the human design point of view, what I want you to pay attention to, I've given lots of dates, lots of gate information, but the stuff that has like the little gray bubble around it, that's the main thing I want to focus on today. So the nodes will begin the year in North Node and Gate 25. And I want you to like really, if you're taking notes, write this down. Gate 25. Like this is the major gate of the year. I kid you not. Like this is last year in 2024, it was Gate 51, the gate of shock. This year, it's Gate 25, the spirit of the self. And I am so excited to work with this gate. And you should be too, because it's beautiful energy. I'm going to describe it to you in a moment. But the North Node will start in that gate, gate 25, which is called the spirit of the self, right here in the identity center, which is about, you guessed it, your identity. How do you see yourself? And how do you express yourself as an individual in the world? That's what this center is all about. And then the South Node will be in gate 46. I'm not going to talk about that one as much because I want to talk about the North Node more here. But quickly on January 31st, the North Node is going to be moving for quite a long time until when? Until June 14th. So 4.5 months. The North Node is going to be in gate 36 right here, the gate of crisis in the solar plexus center, which is all about emotions. And the South Node is going to be in gate 6, the gate of friction, which is also in the solar plexus. What does this all mean? So it means that we're starting off the year and we're already in the energy currently of the nodes activating this sense of spirit, this sense of individuality. Gate 25, you'll hear about again and again today, is all about the individual, and it carries this frequency of innocence, of wonder, and of being open to the possibilities of life. Could we all use a bit more of that energy right now? Yes. I think that is a beautiful, like, frequency to tap into, a beautiful gateway to pass through is like feeling our way, really connecting to who we are and where we're going and having an open, optimistic mind. That's really what Gate 25 is all about. So we're starting off in that energy. We're in that energy now, actually, because as of December, well, at the time that we're recording this, so in December, we've been in this energy for a while, for like about a month. Then at the end of January, it's all moving over here, which sounds a little dramatic, and it is a little dramatic. We're moving into the solar plexus. We're moving into crisis and friction. So buckle up. But the gate, I'm very familiar with gate 36, by the way. Don't be scared. It is dramatic, but it's here to support us. We've all collectively had Neptune in gate 36 for years at this point. So we know what this energy feels like. Gate 36 over here in the solar plexus is all about wanting to feel something. And sometimes when like things are going okay in your life and they're all right, but you just you want more. And so you kind of create a little drama. You kind of start a little fight. You kind of ask a question that it's going to rub someone the wrong way, right? You kind of create a crisis. Like some of you will resonate with this, right? You create an emotional crisis because things are too like boring. They're too simple. We need to do something. So this is going to be interesting. I'm wondering what this means for us societally. Could it mean that we have a big like crisis, at this time between January 31st and June 14th? Perhaps. But on an individual level, what you need to tap into is recognizing where emotional turbulence doesn't have to be bad. It just makes you human. and notice where you're actually creating emotional turbulence in your life. So this is why I put the theme for the nodes for this major massive chunk where the nodes are in 36 and 6 in the solar plexus in 2025, feeling our way through. Connecting, we already know with the North Node in Pisces that feelings are really important for the next 18 months, right? Like we know that already. But especially our relationship to our feelings, allowing ourselves to feel our feelings and recognizing that that's actually what makes us human. That's actually what connects us to each other. And needing to have more compassion to ourselves in the midst of the emotional crisis, in the midst of the friction that we're feeling with other people, that's going to be essential. If we don't master that, we're in trouble next year. So, as a society and, culture. So, it's really interesting. So, that's my main message for working with the nodes next year is there's going to be that 4.5 month section where we are just really being called to more emotional intelligence.
I love that. And like what's just coming up for me as you're sharing that is like this is so amazing to have this insight and this
Mhm.
awareness because it's like when we're having those turbulent emotions come up, often what if we don't have this awareness, like I feel like including myself, what can be the
Yeah.
go-to is like, oh, I'm gonna resist them, like I'm gonna label them as bad and this can be like, sometimes the unconscious expression of Pisces is, oh, I don't
Mm.
want to feel that. I want to numb it out. I want to escape
Yes. And
somehow.
and Virgo South Node is like, no, no, no. Like we don't want to feel these feelings.
Yeah,
Like,
like I got to figure it out. Like what's wrong? I
yeah,
got to figure it out, right? Like
gotta
I
fix
got
it.
my Virgo South Node. But like there's this, as you're sharing, I'm feeling inspired by this beautiful invitation of how can I embrace this and how like that North Node, it's like that. It like propels us forward. How can that,
Yes.
what I'm feeling very deeply, how can it be a catalyst to bring me to some new experience? I always like the North Node also opens doorways,
Yes.
opens new pathways.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. I'm really excited, to work with this. And for those of us who are healers, priestesses, coaches, mentors, of any kind, we got work to do. Like people are going to need us next year, majorly, especially during this time. So any kind of way that you can build your emotional intelligence or help other people to build theirs, like that's our job. Yeah.
So powerful. I love this.
Yeah, it's such good stuff. Okay, let's talk about Neptune. So, variations on a theme. Neptune, similar story. You might see a familiar face over here, gate 25 and gate 36. So, this is what's so interesting about next year. There's some really clear themes that are coming through because of this Pisces Aries axis that's very activated in 2025, right? So, I say next year just because we're in the end of 2024 now. But okay, let's talk about Neptune. So, Neptune, the planet of spirituality, the planet of the subconscious, the planet of, connecting to something greater than ourselves, is moving from Pisces finally into Aries. Oh, like I know a lot of us are ready for it. Like, are we ready? It's been a long road.
Yeah, been on my Mercury for so long in Pisces.
Yeah, it's been and in human design, I mean, it's been in gate 36 for like I didn't look up the exact dates but for off and on for like years. Neptune has been in gate 36, the gate of crisis, and that's a lot. Because as I've just described, gate 36, gate of crisis being like emotional turbulence, right? And so Neptune's been there. And so it's been like, what do we do? What is this about? Why do I feel this way? Like, it's this like fog, the Neptunian fog around our emotions. And a lot of people have been like, I don't know why I feel this way, since like 2020 or even earlier. Like, why do I not have clarity on where I want to go? And for those of us who are deeply emotional and even emotional authority in human design, we may have had trouble making some decisions and getting clarity in these years. And so, yes, I am so excited. So ready for this movement. February 9th. So I know in the astrology, that's the big ingress date in the astrology, March 30th, right? So circle that with a red pen. That's when Neptune moves into Aries. But actually, a little earlier than that, it has this big human design move. So it moves from gate 36 to gate 25. So we're going from the solar plexus again into the identity center. So Neptune is now going to be saying, okay, but who am I? So there's this spiritual aspect of self that we are unlocking. That is the gate, this is the gateway. And I'm so excited about this. And it's going to be in gate 25 off and on until March 2027. So this is a long time. This is like 2 years, right? That we're going to get to experience this specific gate, gate 25 being activated by Neptune. So, it's interesting. There's a lot of discourse among astrologers that I've seen about like, we need to stop like focusing on individualism and we need to focus on community. Well, I have a different perspective on that. Going into the age of Aquarius, I think we have to do both. I think that if I look at the human design transit specifically, we're not even talking about 2027 yet. That's a big year in human design. But there is so much that's telling us to focus on the individual, to focus on being authentic, to focus on being real and knowing who you are and bringing that best self to serve the community. Like, yes, there's a major community focus, but it's gotta be, we can't lose sight of the individual. We can't homogenize ourselves. So anyway, I could get on my soapbox about that and talk a lot about it. But yeah, and this is all telling us this. So we have Neptune, we have the nodes, we have other planets all activating gate 25. It's about the spirit of the self, the individual. So if you remember nothing else from this, remember this gateway is all about a sense of wonder about ourselves, being open to the possibilities. Who am I? Let's find out. That's what it's about. Mhm. Good stuff. I can't wait.
Oh, I love that. And I just really like feel this sense of hope, after this like time
Yeah.
we've been in, which has been really intense. But if we think of
Oh,
Neptune as like this collective planet and this collective energy, and I love that you're bringing in the individual because I agree. For me, it's always like we have to always stay connected to the individual level to have any type of collective shift at
mhm.
all. But like as a collective, we've kind of been in this like who are we? Like almost like existential crisis,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
at least for years, like very strongly. And so I don't
Mhm.
know, I feel as you're sharing a sense of hope as Neptune moves into that spirit of self gateway that, maybe with Neptune reminding us of our interconnectedness with everyone.
Yes. And
And
our spiritual connectedness, that
yeah,
like reminding us that like we're not just, meat in a body, like we're also spiritual beings. I feel like that understanding
totally.
will bring forth a new respect for life that we desperately need in society. Like
Yeah,
real
I love
respect
that. That's
for
exactly. I
people.
love that you spoke to that because it feels like that reminder that we're like spiritual beings living a physical experience. And when we hold that like remembrance and the forefront of our awareness, right, we just interact with everyone and everything at
Mhm.
such a different kind of like vibrational energy than when we might like lose sight of that. So if more of the collective could bring that forward, I just like
Yes.
feel a lot of hope from that. So I'm glad that you brought that
Exactly.
in.
Oh my gosh. And it's like this ancient wisdom, right? Of like, my like when we say namaste, right? It means like the God in me recognizes the God in you or something like that, right? I'm not a yoga
Yeah.
expert, but like that's what I think we need more of. Like I desperately think we need more of that. So I hope that Neptune is going to help bring us that sense of wonder and appreciation for like our spiritual beingness. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
Saturn. Yes, a lot of people are excited who are experiencing their Saturn return. They're like, I'm ready for that to be over. So if, if you have Saturn in Pisces in your birth chart, that means you've been in your Saturn return for the last few years. But in 2025, that is shifting. So Saturn is going to be moving out of Pisces into Aries on May 24th in the astrology. And it's going to be there for about 3 years until 2028. So in the human design, this is really interesting because Saturn starts the year going through three gates really quickly. It's like in the gate of doubt, the gate of openness, the gate of crisis again. And so Saturn is like bringing this sense, as it always does, of responsibility and a need for structure and boundaries, right? Like, okay, if we really want to do what we say we want to do, we want to have this big vision, this big Pisces dream. How are we going to do it? Like, what's the structure and the responsibility we have to take in order to make that happen? So here we are again, May 5th. I'm just going to circle gate 25 really big. Okay, May 5th. So right before the ingress into Aries, so like 20 days before, I should say. So 20 days before this big ingress, we have this big move into gate 25, the spirit of the self, and it's going to be there until September. So we're going to have a good chunk of time to experience this shift of, again, amplifying the self, amplifying who we are, taking responsibility for who we are. So the North Node is like, okay, I'm going to stretch myself to understand who I am authentically. Or actually, sorry, it's moving, the North Node, if I go back, was moving into the emotional side, right? So it's about emotional intelligence. But then we had Neptune, which is moving into 25. And so that's saying, okay, I am a spiritual being, and that sense of wonder. Now we have the responsibility as well. Saturn is like, don't forget about me. We need to make sure that we're also taking responsibility for who we are and who we are being in our lives. And if there is a boundary that needs to be drawn in order to be safe in that, if there are some rules or some structures that need to be in place to protect your sense of self and who you are, then you got to do that. And Saturn's going to help us to do that. So, I'm really excited about that. I think that is going to bring a sense of like more groundedness to this gate 25. That's going to be really cool. And then after September, Saturn is then going back into gate 36. So it's going to have an encore. It's going to say, okay, so I was in the gate of emotional turbulence, the gate of crisis. Now I need to go back there and just make sure that I learned what I learned so that I can continue to open my sense of self. Yeah. Very cool, isn't it? Lots of themes going on here.
Yeah, I love this. And I love that you are really bringing in like also we need to focus on the individual because yeah, where Saturn is, it's like this is where the
Hmm.
work is. And then I love
Yeah.
sometimes, in like the journey of evolution, it can feel sometimes like we get one step forward and then two steps back, but it's really not two steps backwards. It's like we just get to dive in and work on something a little more so then we can like take some steps
Yeah.
forward again. It's more of a spiral than back and forth,
It's
but
more of a spiral, exactly. And because of the retrogrades, I mean, I think that's a nice thing about retrogrades is we get a second chance to learn that lesson. Like we get to go back again before we go forward again. We're like, oh, okay, yep, yep, yep.
yeah,
I need
absolutely.
to
Because
learn that.
sometimes we can think like, most of the outer planets, if they touch something in our natal chart, like their aspect, they're gonna retrograde over it. So we're gonna get three
Yeah.
passes. But like with Saturn, not always. And
Mhm.
sometimes like it can feel like exciting if that Saturn's not gonna retrograde over something where it's like, oh, I only got like one pass at it. But I actually find it can be more intense sometimes, like when you get that
Mhm.
retrograding energy back to work with a previous energy again, like it's
Yes.
like spread out a little bit so it's not so intense. So where we might look at first glance like, oh, Saturn's going back to the crisis gate. It's like, ah, well, that the initial like Saturn transit might not be as intense because we get to like go back and work on things a
Yeah,
little
we're going to get
bit.
another chance to experience and be like, okay, around my emotional intelligence, how am I maybe taking responsibility for the drama that I'm creating? Or how am I taking responsibility for how I deal with my emotions? Am I trying to put it all on someone else? Or am I actually being like, no, this is for me to process. This is for me to work with. So yeah, we get another chance to experience that. Mhm.
That's so
Yeah.
powerful. And just, I don't know, this is like really intuitively coming up so strongly for me as you're sharing. And I don't know if this is like maybe a theme that's related
Mhm.
to the crisis gate is like this,
Uh-huh.
but what's coming up for me is this really strong sense of like acceptance to like this acceptance of what's either like just when you were sharing about like
Mhm.
um can we like essentially like Saturn like take responsibility for maybe some of like the drama we've created in our life is also
Yes.
like this acceptance of instead of like being so hard on ourselves or others sometimes just bringing that acceptance to like this is the way that it is like it's so needed to just like move forward so we're not just like stuck on it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I mean, once people learn the human design, a next level to this would be learn the gene keys. I just have to bring this in for a second. But it's a sister system to human design. And in the gene keys, they go through, each of these gates, like gate 36, a gate of crisis, and there's a shadow, a gift, and then a siddhi, which is like the highest expression. And the highest expression of gate 36 is compassion. So it's
Mm.
exactly what you said. The gift is humanity, the shadow is turbulence, but the Siddhi is compassion. And so it's like, okay, recognize that you're human. Recognize that it's okay to have emotional turbulence. We're not here to be like Zen gurus all the time. Like, I really don't believe that's what we're here for. We're here to experience the fullness and the spectrum of emotion and like have compassion for yourself, right? And for others.
I love this. It's just so funny because the time we're filming, like over the last week, we just had a Mercury Cazimi, Mercury and Sun meeting at the Great
Yes.
Attractor and Sagittarius. I know I'm going off like on a whole thing, but that's such a like ex like a visionary, like expanding of our mind kind of like Mercury retrograde that we're in as we're filming this.
Yes.
And one of the things that like came to me was like, oh, I really have to study the gene keys. So I just love that you're like this divine messenger that just brought that in for me. So the gene keys gates are the
Mhm.
same gates as the human design
Yes.
gates.
Yes, exactly. They
Wow.
don't call them gates, they call them gene keys, but
Yeah.
there's 64 and they're the same and they have the same meanings essentially. It's just, I would say I don't know if gene keys experts would say it the same way, but I would say it's another layer of information. So
Wow.
taking the understanding from the human design and the placement in the chart and then adding in this idea of this like evolution and this contemplation that we can go through looking at the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi in ourselves.
Wow, I am so inspired and I can like barely like sit still. I'm so inspired.
I knew you would love this. Like everyone, I hope, is also feeling the same and wants to nerd out with us because this stuff is amazing. And I mean, I have gate 36. This is actually my culture gene key for anyone who knows about it. And so this is how I connect to my people. And this is not been easy for me because I have a lot of conditioning that I want to be perfect and I being emotional makes me look weak. And so, I mean, even now, many years into my personal development and, my life, I am still working through that conditioning, but it's a part of what connects me to other people is recognizing that like we are all human, we all feel big feelings, and we have to have compassion for ourselves. So I'm excited I got to talk about Gate 36 today because it's very personal to me. And I know a lot of us have just been feeling it because Neptune's been there for a long time. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and if you know your astrology chart or human design, if you have any natal planets or like placements that are in any of these gates, I would love to hear that in the comments and just any of your own like experience of having these gates activated you want to share or just any wisdom you have about like your life experience of having placements here because my Mercury and North Node are in these like last 10 degrees of Pisces.
Oh,
And so
yes.
I'm like so curious. I have to like go look because my Mercury is like 2956 Pisces. So I'm like curious like which
Yeah.
gate it's in. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be back in the comments like writing like which gates those placements for me are
Yeah, it's
in.
probably right there, either on 36 or 25. It probably is on 25, but it's like right there. Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Wow.
so curious. I'd love to hear anyone who's tuning in, like please write in the comments and share.
Oh, amazing. Oh, so good. I love this stuff so much. Okay, so we've got two more transits to talk about. So I will try and whiz through to keep us slightly to time, although I think I'm already over. Okay, so Jupiter. We got to talk about Jupiter. Jupiter currently in Gemini, but going to be moving into Cancer on June 9th. So as we move into the summer months, we're going to have, well, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're going to have Jupiter moving into Cancer until June of 2026. So, Jupiter's in a sign for roughly about a year every time. And this is an exciting move. So, I want to talk about, from June 2nd to 26th, which is not really a long time. So, it's just those 20 days, that month of June. We're working with Jupiter being in the gate of extremes. And that sounds a little scary, but it's not. I promise you, you're going to love it. But something that's really interesting, and then of course it's going to it's going to continue moving through Cancer, through these other gates, but I'm not going to go into all these details. I just want to talk about where it's starting because I do believe in astrology and human design, like where we start matters. And I think it gives like a vibe to the rest of the transit. So we're starting in gate 15. So gate 15, one of my favorite gates, very special to me. My son has some really important planets there. And gate 15 is called the gate of extremes and it's Cancer energy. And so it's all about really allowing yourself the freedom of the way you want to live your life. So you'll notice that this, just like gate 25, is in the identity center. The identity center is part of the heart chakra, but in human design, the identity center is all about the direction that we're going to go in, and it's all about our identity. So, and think about that. That's really beautiful. The idea that who we are and where we're going is the same thing. Right? Beautiful stuff, like poetry. I just love human design so much. Um, and so when we're thinking about which direction are we going in, the Gate of Extremes is here to invite us and remind us that we get to be flexible and we get to change. So I like to give an example of like the morning routine, for example. If you're someone who wants to work with gate 15, especially during this time, Jupiter is going to be there, very expansive. Think about your lifestyle and how you're living your life. Are you someone who wakes up and you do the same routine every time? Because with gate 15, it's not about doing the same thing. It's not about routine. It's about freedom. It's about like, how do I feel right now? Ooh, let's try this. Ooh, let's try this. Ooh, let's go over here today. Ooh, let's explore this today. With Jupiter there, I think it's going to be very expansive in terms of like what do I want to learn next, right? Because Jupiter is very much about learning, but also about leadership. So it's like, where do I need to lead myself next? And also, what do I want to learn next? What's the information I want to take in? How do I want to expand, my heart, which is Cancer, and also my mind. And so the lesson if I could summarize all that down, the lesson of this gateway is about leading yourself to dance freely. So where do you need to be more free? And how can you lead yourself to that place? This is going to be a really fun one and a great one to experiment with and to see how you feel and to tap into being more flexible. Yeah. Mhm.
Ah, I'm muted. I love that. I love that. I love that theme because it's so, um, oh my gosh, I'm just like having this image of when you're sharing of like getting to like Jupiter expand into like who we truly are and the freedom
Mhm.
that comes from that. So powerful.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Because it's about the identity. So you're right. It's like the freedom of who we are and what we want to do and how we want to live our life. People who have gate 15 very prominently in their chart, they will often be the person who kind of inspires others to do things differently you know my son has this and that's exactly I see that for him. I'm so excited for him in life because he's the one who's going to like help people to be brave by example because it's all about you doing it first. And so, yeah, this is a beautiful time to just be more courageous with how you're living your life, how you're doing things, how you're doing your day, how you're doing stuff. And of course, look at where you have Cancer, 0 degrees Cancer. That's going to be, which house that is. That's the area of life that's going to be most activated. But yeah, it's going to be a really cool one to work with.
I think
Yeah.
it's really cool, like this idea of extremes with that 0 degrees of Cancer gate, because that's
Yeah.
where the solstice point is, regardless of what
Yes.
hemisphere you're
My
in.
son was born on the solstice. So yeah, it's like
Oh, I love
amazing
that. So
thing.
it's like you're
Uh-huh.
experiencing either the extreme of daylight or the extreme of nighttime. And so
Yes.
it's really cool how there's that resonance.
Yes, that's so cool. I didn't think about that actually, about that connection, and that's so true. Is really beautiful. Oh, I love it. I love it. This is
Yeah,
so good.
it's so
Okay.
amazing how everything like interconnects.
Yeah, it really does. It's all saying the same thing, just in different ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so last but not least, we have Uranus, and then I'll do like a whole kind of summary of it, everything together. So with Uranus, in July 7th, we have Uranus finally entering Gemini. It's been in Taurus for a while. I'm for one am ready for this move into Gemini. It's gonna be interesting. Ooh, like if anyone works in media, that's going to be very interesting. So Uranus moving into Gemini. Okay, until August 2032, roughly, so that's 7 years. Um, and on March 26th, so before we get to this point, Uranus will be in gate 8, which is the gate of contribution. And I think that really suits this kind of Taurus energy that we've been in, this like disruption of like economic systems, money, our relationship with, with the body, like all these kind of Taurian themes that we've been in. But now, from July 10th, so 3 days after the big astrology ingress, the human design is shifting majorly. So, and yet there's also this theme continued of the voice. So this is all happening in the throat. So, gate 8, so where Uranus starts at the beginning of the year, or March 26th, I should say, it's starting over here in the throat. Again, this is about how can my work be of a contribution to the world? So how can I sell my art, essentially, is the question of gate 8. And so Uranus is asking us that. But then it's going to move with this ingress into gate 20. Now, gate 20 is called often the manifesting generator gate. It is a really cool gate to work with. Gate 20 in the throat as well is called the gate of the now. I mean, how cool is that? It just sounds so like cool. It's just like the gate of the now. Okay, so Uranus starting off this big ingress in the gate of the now, I just think is so modern times, it's like very cool. Because the gate of the now is exactly what it sounds like. It's like I have something that I want to take action on because the throat is the voice in human design, but it's also manifestation power. It's like I speak things into reality. I make it happen. I say it and it happens. What's that song? Like I see it, I want it, I got it. I can't remember how it goes, but you know what I mean? Like the Ariana Grande. So that's like very much the gate of the now is saying like, here's what I want it now. It's very impulsive and it's very like all about presence. It's not about worrying about what's going to come. It's not about worrying about what happened before and how something didn't work out or whatever happened before. It's all about being ultra present. And so with this Uranian energy, I am very interested to see how this works because it's going to be there until November 4th. So that's quite a chunk of time to be in this like ultra present innovation energy of like, okay, I say it and it happens. So I would say this is like ultimate manifesting energy. Really tap into an appreciation and a comfort with change because things are changing. Like that's a given. That's gonna happen. If I give this whole kind of gateway a name or a theme, it would be create what you want in the now. This is no time. 2025 is no time to wait. No time to be planning for like your 5-year plan. It's about what are you doing right now? What are you calling in right now? How can you make it real?
Yeah, I love that. It's like the only moment is the present moment.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. And I just love this because I feel like Uranus as a planet is always about that in a way. Like it's like lightning strikes, like not
Yeah.
yesterday, not tomorrow, now, it's like let's go. So yeah, it's disruptive energy. So it's very much like, all right, like let's take this bull by the horns. Let's go.
I love that. And as you're sharing, I'm just really sensing, 'cause I always feel this about Uranus. Like
Mm,
Uranus, I mean, the energy can go either way, but
yeah.
with Uranus, it also brings very like fast moving new
Mhm.
opportunities that often like we don't have a lot of time to do like I'm going to weigh the pros and cons. I'm going to think about it. It's like, if it's right, you just have to say yes and
You
go
just
for
have to
it
say
because
it.
otherwise the window's like closed. And so
Yes.
it's always good to be whenever there's Uranian energy. And I feel it as you're sharing about this gate. It's like, if it feels right intuitively and in your being, but it feels like scary, that's
Yeah.
usually like, for me, if there's Uranus, it's like, say yes and go
Yeah.
for it.
Just go for it. Just be open. Just say yes. Exactly. Exactly. And then the rest of the year, it's going to go back to gate 8, which is like, okay, now I've just said yes. Like, how can my art, again, how can my art be of contribution to the world? And I love this. It's great energy, again, for healers, coaches, mentors, priestesses, like this is great energy to support people in making change, to
Mm,
support them in being like, the past is the past. Like we're done with it now. What's now? What's now? Very cool.
yeah, I
Okay,
love that.
so let's do a little summary. I know there's a lot of information, a lot of like, new ways of talking about the astrology, but I hope this was really interesting and really supportive to
Oh
people.
my
So
gosh,
I'm,
this is amazing. Like
yeah.
you brought such a whole new lens to looking at this that resonates so deeply. I love this.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy. So in summary, out of these five major ingresses, two are moving into fire, two are moving into water, one is moving into air. There's not a lot of earth going on. So we're letting go of the Virgo South Node earth stuff, right? It's like, woo, next year is big energy. Things are moving, things are happening. Absolutely. I really feel that for all of us. All the retrogrades are like very much in like fire signs. There's a lot going on. So the north and south nodes are going to spend 4.5 months in the solar plexus. So there's this emotional call to emotional intelligence and compassion. Neptune will spend roughly 2 years in gate 25, our favorite gate of the moment, the spirit of the self and the identity center. So we are spiritual beings. Who are we now? Saturn will spend almost 5 months in that same gate in the identity center. So it's saying, well, what structures, safety, and responsibility needs to be in place so we can become our full selves. And then Jupiter's ingress into Cancer starts in the identity center as well. So it's all about this center here in gate 15 extremes. So again, activating the self, activating the individual. And then Uranus will spend all of 2025 in the throat center. So that is pretty cool. So that's just like a quick summary of kind of all the things that we've looked at. If I was going to boil this all down, if you remember nothing else, remember that the major themes of 2025 are who we are, our voice, and our feelings. And this is our work, right? As astro priestesses, like this is our work to support people with birthing the new earth, with birthing themselves, with birthing the changes that they need to embrace, right? Who we are, our voice, and our feelings. And I cannot wait to do this with you as we move through this year. It's going to be truly magical.
Wow, Rachel, I am so inspired. Like the what you brought in, the way you communicated all of this was just so brilliant. And
I'm so
my
glad.
mind is like I'm like thinking about all the things I want to go study more now, like human
I
design.
know there's so much. It's like, oh, I love it.
I'm super lit up. Do you have, so you offered us so much on how to navigate the energies of 2025 and bringing in this beautiful theme that's so deeply resonating. If you could leave everyone with maybe like one or two like very like kind of practical
Mhm,
strategies or guidance
mhm.
in their life, like kind of grounding practices, what
Yes.
would it be for meeting the energy of next year? Tools,
Mhm.
techniques, like whatever it is.
That's a great question. So I think that if there are centers we need to focus on, it's our heart, our voice, and our solar plexus. So it's our, being courageous to be ourselves and to speak our truth is a huge part of next year. And so any kind of, I just feel like I'm intuitively just sensing that like working with the throat, right? Working with the throat to express ourselves in the way that is authentic to us, working with the throat to speak our truth, to make what we desire come into reality. Like, I just think that that is the center for everyone to be really working on. I know with my programs and with my people, I'm thinking a lot about that. I'm thinking a lot about confidence and how to help people to build it. I'm thinking a lot about courage because we're going to be going through some big changes. And I'm thinking a lot about the voice because in this new world, we cannot be silent. We cannot hide. We cannot go away. Like it's time for us to really use our voice and to find our voice, first of all. So that's really where I think people should start. For some people, that could look like breath work, to open the voice. And for some people, that could look like emotional releasing practices, and for some people, that could look like, singing. Like there's all kinds of different like physical and non-physical ways to work here, but find your way, find your tool, and just regularly use it so that you keep this open.
I love that. And I'd love to hear, as you were sharing about thinking of, taking all of the energy of the next year into what you're offering. Do you have any of your offerings that you want
Yeah,
everyone to know about, how they can receive your
definitely.
beautiful wisdom?
Absolutely. There's so much I'm planning for next year. I'm really, really excited to take my work to the next level, or should I say in 2025. But I do want to let everyone know that I've got a freebie to start. So there's a human design environment freebie that I'm offering as part of the summit. So make sure you check that out. It is a masterclass where I share about what your natural environment. There are 6 different environments in human design based on your chart, and you have one of them. And that means that is your natural environment that you will be most productive and most comfortable in. And it's a physical thing. So it's fascinating. For me, I'm markets environment. So working in a place that's kind of like fast paced, like a city, or being in a cafe where there's lots of things happening and people talking and shopping and all that. That's what stimulates my excellence, my productivity, my mind, my body. Everything works better when I'm in that space. When I lived for during COVID in a rural place, it was so hard. I got like depressed. Like it was not for me. And so understanding and learning about your human design environment can help set you up for success. Of course, we always have constraints that we work within, but if you know your environment, you can make some little shifts and tweaks to make yourself more comfortable when you're doing your work. And that will really help your energy and your productivity. So check out the freebie. That is a fantastic one.
Well, I
Also,
need to know
um,
that
yeah.
immediately.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like, what is mine? Yeah, I would look yours up. Like, or I can help you look yours up, and I'll yeah tell you about it. It's very good. Um, and then I do want to let everyone know that if you are interested to learn more with me, I do have a human design foundation course and certification. It's probably going to be starting around March, so check on that and join the wait list if the wait list is up for that. Also, if you want to really apply all of this to your business, that's really my zone of genius is helping people take the astrology and the human design and apply it to business in a way that feels empowering and natural. So in January and early Feb, my Rising Star Business Academy is open, and then doors will close after that. So check that out. And of course, if you just want to learn more about these transits and spend time in amazing cosmic membership with me, every single month we go through all of these. I have my cosmic calendar. We talk about the gates that are activated. We talk about the astrology that's activated, and we learn how to harness all of this energy for ourselves to truly empower ourselves. So check out my constellation community membership as well. So that's how you can check me out, work with me. I would love to meet you all. And just let me know what you think about this talk. Like just message me on Instagram or TikTok if TikTok is still around, and let me know what you thought of this because I would love to hear your feedback. And I hope that this inspired you and opened your mind to the possibilities of using more human design as well.
Oh, I love that. And definitely follow Rachel on YouTube. And if you want to share anything about your podcast as well.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm rebranding it for 2025. So I don't know what the new name is going to be, but at the moment, it's the Cosmic Queen podcast. And it's all about, yeah, supporting yourself with astrology, human design, numerology, tarot, and your business. So it's very much for entrepreneurs and like kind of career focused. But it's so much fun. So definitely go and give it a follow on any platform. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Substack, and Apple, etc.
Amazing. Rachel, you are the best.
Oh,
I,
thank you. This has been so fun. I don't want it to
I
end.
know. I love everything you brought. I feel like you have just given everyone who's tuned in so many gems to contemplate as we're moving into 2025. Not only contemplate, but to give us like real practical guidance on how can we meet these energies in the most like flowing with the energy as opposed to pushing up against the energy, which is just like everything. So thank you so much for being here and just sharing all of this wisdom.
My pleasure. This was such a joy. I'm so excited to watch all the other speakers as well. Thank you for having me and inviting me.
Oh, thank you all, everyone who's tuning in. Like, please share what you received from this, inspiration. Yeah, I can't wait to like tune in and see what everyone, because I feel like everybody's gonna be like so lit up listening to
Yes,
this. And I just look forward to seeing everyone in all of our other talks. So have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye.
you. Bye.